Are you a pilgrim that's walked the Camino de Santiago? Could be any of the Caminos. If so, please send us a message on our Pilgrims Podcast Facebook page, because I would love to interview you. I'm always looking for new guests for the podcast, and as a thank you, I will give you a copy of my Camino de Santiago memoir, The Only Way is West. It's a bestseller in the humorous essays and travelogue categories in the UK, in Australia and Canada, and also a bestseller in sports essays, ecotourism and literary travel in the USA. So please get in touch, and like I said, as a thank you, I'll give you a free copy of my book, The Only Way is West, which currently on Amazon has 73 reviews and 4.8 out of 5. So that's the announcements over with. Let's get into the podcast.
A wandering wanderer, a life adventurer, said he's a secret philosopher. He's a wandering wanderer.
Hello there once again, fellow peregrinos. Welcome to episode 32 of El Camino de Santiago, Pilgrims Podcast, where we talk about planning, preparation and packing for walking the road to Santiago, as well as tips, tricks and hacks to make your journey along the way a lot more enjoyable. This week we have an interview with a man in London, a Brit who's walked the Camino Frances 4 times. Dan Jarvis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So Dan, if you'd like to just tell the listeners exactly how the Camino first came into your life. How did you cross paths with the Camino?
Well, it's a kind of a very kind of long, well, hopefully not too long-winded, but I was kind of laid up. I wasn't very well for a long period of time in kind of 2015, and I was consuming lots of catch-up TV. I was watching lots of kind of programs about travel, and I'd kind of be lying there, not feeling kind of very good, feeling a bit sorry for myself, and just kind of wishing and hoping that, you know, when I get better, I want to travel. And I watched a film, Wild, with Reese Witherspoon, and I thought, oh, that would be amazing. I could disappear, go to America and kind of trek around. And then when I kind of looked into the logistics of it, I thought that's probably a bit too much for me. So a friend just kind of fortuitously said, oh, you know, you've been mentioning about travel when you're better and stuff. Have you heard about the Camino? And I was like, no, you know, what's that? And all she said was, it's just a walking route in Spain. You can kind of go over there. It's quite cheap. So I started researching it, kind of looked into it, and that it kind of lit a fire in me. But kind of one of the downsides to kind of getting ill was I kind of had quite bad anxiety. So the thought of disappearing on my own with a backpack, I didn't feel confident enough to do that. So it just kind of sat in my head for a few months. And one Friday after work, I just mentioned it. And there was a new starter at work, a guy called Frank. And he just turned to me. He said, look, I don't know you, but I've wanted to do that for years. And I was like, really? He said, yeah, should we do it? And I was like, well, I don't really know you, but yeah, let's do it. So we kind of sat there and we kind of chatted about it and we planned it. And that was in 2016, and we ended up kind of going out in August via a ferry to Santander, then got the coach down to Leon and kind of started our slightly calamitous start to the Camino.
So hang on, you took a ferry to the start. That's
Yeah,
a very unconventional way in itself of doing things.
Well, I nearly missed it as well. No, we just kind of thought, let's just kind of make it an adventure rather than cramming ourselves onto a Ryanair flight. Let's go down Santander, spend a night there, then get the coach down to Leon and just see what happens, really. Lovely. So yeah, it was a fun start.
Well, first of all, Dan, I'm relieved to hear that you, number one, sound like you are in better health than you were in 2015. Two, that it sounds like you managed to get over that anxiety, which, you know, is not easy. As someone who's had anxiety myself in the past, I know how debilitating that can be. So, you never quite fully, it's not something you can say I'm cured from it, but it's something you can say I manage it better than I used to or whatever. So I'm glad to hear that you're winning that battle. And
Thank
3,
you.
that you actually encountered a kindred spirit where you least expected it, and your future pilgrim friend at work.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of done all the Camino since together. I mean, he was unable to come out with me last year for very long, so he walked with me to Burgos, and I kind of finally, after years of chipping away at the Frances, I walked from St John all the way to Finisterre. So yeah, it's been a great journey, and also a journey of kind of slowly building yourself back up. And I do think that the risk of sounding a bit corny, that some of that is to do with the Camino and the people you meet and the time you have away from your everyday life.
You just made all the hairs on my arms and legs stand on end when you said that, Dan. Because I know how true it is. And it's not corny at all. Never a true word's been spoken. So, Dan, would you, if you don't mind, take us to the point from when you decided to walk the Camino for the first time and actually walking it? Did you do any training, research on kit, stuff like that? How did you prepare for the Camino? How did you get in shape? Let's start with that question. How did you get in shape for the Camino, first of all, from being pretty much kind of sedentary, from what it sounds like, to being active and walking on the Camino?
Well, kind of one of the things, even though I was kind of spending a lot of time kind of lying on my bed watching kind of catch up and kind of films and things, I was still attending Park Run, which, for those who don't know, it's a free event in the UK, I think actually over Europe and some other parts of the world, where at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning you do 5k with other people. So I was getting out to do that. So that in a way kind of gave me a false confidence, because I thought, well, I'm running 5k a week, I'm eating fairly healthily, I'm not kind of carrying any excess weight, it's just walking. So Frank and I rather stupidly decided, well, we need to kind of recreate a scenario in the UK before we go out to the Camino. The Camino will be kind of 20k a day, 30k a day, kind of consistently. So we thought, why don't we walk from the outskirts of London to Brighton and back over a Saturday and a Sunday, which worked out about 50 to 60k a day. And we hadn't walked more than 15, 20k up until that point. Excuse me. So, yeah, we bought some Ordnance Survey maps, got off the train on the outskirts of London and started to walk kind of one rainy Saturday. At one point, we were kind of walking through a field under the Gatwick flight path with kind of planes coming overhead, landing. We just said, what are we doing? And I'd probably say we got to about 35k, and my legs, they started to kind of let themselves be known. And at 40k, they just locked up. And I was like, I can't go on. I didn't know walking was so tough. This has done me. So I got the train to Brighton and kind of rested that night, came back the next day. We did like a little 20k day. And then over the preceding weekends, I would chip away and I'd do like a 15, I'd do a 20k. I did a lot of research on blisters and socks and boots and things like that. And even though I did do that, it still didn't really kind of prepare me properly for the Camino, because it was still quite a shock for my body, actually.
And between your subsequent Caminos and that first one, what did you change in your planning and preparation and training to make sure? How did you hone it and refine it, your planning and prep? I'd
probably say the first off, I took everything bar the kitchen sink in my bag. My bag weighed an absolute ton. And I look back with shame at one of the photos from the first year with this ginormous bag. It looks like I'm off to Glastonbury Festival or something. It's way too big. So I've learned to kind of strip that down. I no longer kind of wear hiking boots. I just kind of wear Nike trainers, which I think kind of you've been waxing lyrical about as well.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've got some Nike kind of trail runners, and yeah, it's like walking on air. Pardon the pun.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon the pun. I sound like I'm on some kind of commission for saying that, but I'm
Product
not, honestly.
Placement.
Just do it. No, I did it again. But yeah, go on. So you got the Nike trail runners. What else?
I would say kind of stripping back what you take, 3 pairs of pants, 2 walking T-shirts, 3 pairs of socks, just stripping it right back. And, as I'd read on a forum, they say Spain is a developed country. If you haven't got it in your bag, you can buy it over there. You will be okay.
If and when you need it.
Yeah, if you ever do need it. And there's something quite nice about kind of having no kind of wardrobe dilemmas. It's okay, I'm in a walking T-shirt, I'm in my kind of chilling out T-shirt. It just strips all that back. So I think it's been about, also what I have done is I train in the gear that I go with now. So I would test trousers. I even tested underwear. I tried Calvin Klein's. They didn't work for me. And randomly, some Primark boxer shorts. They were perfect. So I was like, right, I'll take those. So it's been a slow and kind of methodical kind of testing and retesting. And this didn't work. And I kind of used to tell people that I did my first Camino kind of so wrong and so badly. But through those mistakes, I've probably learned a lot more and a lot faster.
So you basically took a lot less since your first Camino and your Caminos after that. And you even mentioned, which was really interesting, training in the clothes that you're going to wear on the Camino. Yes. That's a really good point, actually, because you never know where those friction points are going to be on certain T-shirts or shorts, if the label's going to irritate you or not. And if you go on the Camino with new gear like that, sometimes that can be the case. You didn't realise, the zip kind of dug into here or there. So that's a really, really good tip, that you actually train in the clothes you're going to wear in the Camino. I just want to delve again into something else. You said 3 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of boxer shorts or whatever. You had a pair of you had a T-shirt to walk in and a T-shirt that you don't walk in, that you relax in, like your after Camino T-shirt. I have exactly the same packing method as that. Why did you choose 3 pairs of socks and 3 boxers? And why? Obviously, if you're only wearing 2 T-shirts, you got to be very, very religiously cleaning your clothes at the end of each day, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd say that the 3 pairs of socks. I'd say up until maybe last year, I'd kind of, for distances past 20k, I'd kind of change socks midway through. So I'd put on a dry pair, and I'd always have a spare pair, because I've stayed in a few albergues where people's socks go missing. And I did a lot of research on these kind of merino wool blend socks, and I tested them, and I kind of, the risk of sounding a bit sad, I fell in love with them. I was like, oh, these are brilliant. So I want these, and I don't want any other socks. So I thought, I'll take my 2 pairs, which I will use, and I'll have one in reserve as well.
There's no shame in falling in love with a pair of socks, Dan. We've all done it, let's be honest. As long as we put them on my feet and nothing else. But anyway, right, okay. So good stuff. All right, so we talked a little bit about training and your preparation and packing. Obviously, you've mentioned staying in albergues as well. Have you got an albergue that was your favourite along the Camino Frances and the 4 times you've walked it that you'd recommend others stay in?
I'd say for the experience, Albergue Verde in Hospital de Orbigo, that was a really lovely experience. I believe it's a kind of a vegan kind of run albergue. They have a lovely luscious green garden. They've got hammocks. They've got little dogs which sometimes jump on you when you're in the hammocks. They do free yoga. The evening meal, which I said is vegan, is a donation. They have a masseuse there. And I think they were building kind of a structure in the garden which was for yoga if it's kind of for poor weather. So it's a very beautiful, kind of almost holistic feeling. And a couple of pilgrims that turned up just kind of looked at it and said, right, I'm staying here for 2 days. I just want to rest and relax. And it's a lovely place to just kind of chill out, really.
So Albergue Verde in Hospital de Orbigo, and got all of those great things going on for all of those reasons. Thanks, Dan. We'll put a link to that on our Facebook page, Camino de Santiago Pilgrims Podcast. And maybe from your first Camino and the Caminos that you did after that, some foot care rituals that you developed to make sure you stayed blister free.
Well, kind of in the beginning, from the things I read, I would do the double sock. So I'd do the synthetic liner to kind of wick away the moisture, and then I'd have a thicker sock on the outside. But all of my Caminos have been done from kind of June to September, so it's very hot. And I could get horrendously bad heat rash. My feet looked like they belonged to a zombie. They were terrible. So what I kind of do now, I have a single sock, a merino blend sock, and I will just kind of Vaseline religiously. If at any point when I'm walking, I'll get kind of a hot spot or a kind of a tiny rubbing feeling like I did this year on my heel, just stop, get your sock down, either pop a plaster on if you've got one, or a Compeed, and that will just stop the rubbing. I think the thing I would say to people, I mean, it can take a bit of time to know what you're looking out for, but really do listen to your feet. Do not ignore them, because I've seen some horror stories. I've never seen blisters like it on the Camino. People who've walked in damp socks, people who've just kind of plodded on and just thought, oh, it'll be fine in 15, 20 K's time, and it generally isn't.
No, I mean, that's definitely the moral of many stories we've heard on the podcast so far as well, is that when you do feel any inkling of that hot spot, then stick some sports tape on it, something like that, or maybe a plaster if that's what you got, to cover it over and make sure it doesn't actually get any worse. And you said about putting the Vaseline on. When would you put the Vaseline on your feet?
So I'll do that in the morning. I'll kind of get my bag ready, get my shoes ready, and then kind of put Vaseline in and around my toes. Sometimes around the heel, but I find that rubs off. But it's generally kind of around the toe areas. And I touch wood, I've not really had kind of serious blister issues since I've been doing that. And
you've done away since with the synthetic sock liners?
Yeah, like I say, I just go down to one single sock now, because walking from June to August, it's just too hot, and the heat rash would come without fail. And it wasn't very nice.
Great stuff. Okay, so Vaseline was obviously one really important thing on your kit list there. Could you please say the other three things most important to you on your kit list, aside from the obvious, which would be your backpack, your socks, and those Nike trainers?
I'd say like a blister kit, which I kind of would make, which would have plasters, Compeed, some padding, iodine, stuff like that. And not just for me, but for other people. You know, you'd often come across people struggling. We came across this Polish pilgrim, a young lad who, it was actually his birthday, but he looked like it was his funeral. He was so depressed, and he had walked for days with bad blisters, and we kind of convinced him to take his boots off, and we kind of patched him up and kind of plastered him up. So having that blister kit isn't just for me, it's kind of for other people. So that's kind of proved very useful for me and other pilgrims. And it's kind of a luxury item, actually, because yourself, I think you've stayed in quite a few albergues yourself, am I right?
Yeah, mainly I do stay in albergues when I do the Camino, yeah.
So you know about some of the pillows, which it's like a bag of wet cement. So
some of the pillows. I don't know if pillow's the right word for them, but
yeah. Breeze block.
Yeah.
So I take a Thermarest travel pillow, which is probably, traditional pilgrim would probably poo-poo that, but it saved my neck on a good few times. And I don't know about you, but if I have a really bad night's sleep, I'm awful to be around. So that saves me, and it saves other pilgrims I meet the next day.
And the last thing?
I'd probably say some snacks, actually, because sometimes I like to walk early when it's dark and not a lot of the cafes are open. So I'll go to the supermarket the night before, maybe buy some nuts or a little kind of packaged Napolitana, anything just to kind of throw in the engine just to get me to the first spot for when the cafe opens.
When the cafe eventually opens, and it says at like 8:30, and it sometimes doesn't happen until like 9 o'clock. Can be very frustrating. They're quite relaxed with their opening hours and the time stated. But okay, so some snacks which you'd always carry with you. My wife and I did that always as well. After we finished walking, we'd always go out and buy snacks when the supermarkets first opened after siesta about 4:30. Get our supplies, get to the albergue, make the next day's kind of snacks, which would normally be a roll or something like that, because you don't have to carry a whole loaf of bread, and some pate, so you don't have to carry any extra tins or jars with you. So I found the snacks to be really useful as well. That Thermarest travel pillow.
Thermarest travel pillow.
Yeah, I mean, I've carried something similar. I've carried like an inflatable pillow, which obviously doesn't weigh anything. You just blow it up as and when you need it. Because those pillows in the bunk beds in the albergues they can leave you needing about 10 of them to get any kind of any comfort out of them at all. And the blister kit for yourself and your fellow pilgrims, just in case you might need it. Now, we've mentioned already a favourite albergue. What about a favourite city, town or village along the way?
For me, it's got to be Logroño. It's got a bit of everything, really. It's the back streets for the Pinchos. Every little bar on this back street, they all do their own kind of unique Pinchos. Some do just kind of mushrooms, some do steak, some do seafood, some vegetables. It's absolutely amazing, and it really comes to life. And every time I've been there, be it a kind of a weekend or a weeknight, it's always really buzzing. And I always find it really hard to kind of tear myself away and think, oh, we've got to walk tomorrow. And they've got a nice big swimming pool on the outskirts of the town with 2 big slides. So my inner child kind of enjoys going down those slides and forgetting I'm walking for an afternoon.
And while we're talking food, Dan, a favourite restaurant or eating establishment, bar, cafe along the way where you can get a good tortilla or a good café con leche, or the steak's amazing? A place you remember eating that stands out that you think, oh, if I was on the Camino, I'd definitely go back there?
I think for me, I don't know. It's actually a bakery. So it's the first town or second town. It's like a steep town after Punta La Reina, and it's a bakery which, when you're walking there, probably we got there about 9 a.m. and the smell of these Napolitanas freshly baked out the oven. Oh, they were sent down from heaven. I think I ate 2. So I can't give you the exact pinpoint. But like I say, it's the first or second town after the Punta La Reina.
Bakery in town after Puente de la Reina. I will look that up and see if we can shed any light on that one.
Yeah,
I mean, when you got a café con leche, you can easily put away 2 or 3 of those Napolitanas, can't you?
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know what they are, Napolitana, I guess if it was in a British supermarket, and I can obviously only say British supermarket because I don't know exactly what's in Australia or America or Canada, but they look like croissants, but they're just like big croissants, and they are absolutely filled with chocolate. And for a hungry pilgrim, they're obviously very, very attractive to the eyes and the belly. So yeah, have a look for those Napolitanas along the way. Right, so we're going to go into some quick fire questions now, Dan, if that's okay. And if you could give me short, sharp answers to each, then we'll fly through these as quickly as possible, right? So, favorite Camino blog, vlog, book, and/or film?
It's a forum. It's actually Ivar. Is it Ivar? And it's Camino de Santiago.me/community. It's a wealth of knowledge about the Camino.
I'll put a link to that on our Facebook page as well, yeah.
Sorry, and the film, it's got to be The Way, cheesy as it is.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
A favourite food and/or drink on the Camino, apart from the Napolitana, maybe?
Empanadas. I could eat them all day, every day out there. Washed down with an ice cold Estrella Galicia.
It sounds like you definitely embraced the culture and the food and drink.
Yes, yeah, it was. Yeah, it kind of, it's food, it's fuel, the Estrella Galicia is kind of a treat after walking.
Good stuff. One thing you wished you'd packed maybe on your first Camino?
I think it's probably I wish I hadn't packed half of the stuff I packed, really. So I wish I'd taken a smaller bag.
So a lot less.
Yes.
And one specific thing you didn't need and wouldn't take again?
If I was being really ruthless, I'd probably say my spare pair of socks. If I was to kind of live dangerously and only go with 2, that's what I'd say.
And one thing you wished you'd packed? The one thing you wished you took with you?
Last year, I wished I'd packed a new ankle because I got tendonitis halfway along. But I don't think they sell those at the moment.
No, just a bit of rest, ice compression, elevation. That'll be the best you could do. One place you wished you'd stayed over.
There was an albergue which I believe is called Albergue Casa del Pescador. It's on the way to Osabrero, and I saw it, and it looked kind of idyllic. There's a pond, there's like a little eco garden, but I was pushing on to Osabrero, so I kind of made a note, and I was like, if I come back, I would love to stay there. It looks very peaceful.
Casa del what? Sorry,
del Pescador.
Pesquero. It was in fisherman pesquero. Is that?
Yeah, I think you can fish in the lake.
Okay, so Casa del Pesquero.
Or the pond. Pesquero.
Okay, good stuff. And that's on the way up Osabrero. Okay, so
on the way to, yes.
On the way to Osebrero, Casa del Pesquero. An important word, a useful word to learn in Spanish.
I just kind of like to preface this with, I did go to Spanish classes, but it just went in one ear and out the other. It was quite a mission for me to kind of pick up some words. But the words that I probably use quite a lot alongside Bon Camino is yo quiero.
I want.
Yeah, I want, and then I point like a madman.
No, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. I've in my studies, because I qualified as a football coach and a PE teacher. It was one of the things I've said before is 93% of communication is non-verbal. So you can definitely get your message across with a couple of words and some grunts and some signs and sound effects. Definitely works. Hardest part of the Camino for you?
I'd probably say for the uninitiated, it is the first day from St. John all the way up to Roncesvalles. If you're going to do that and not stop and spend the night in Orizon, that's a tough day.
Favourite thing about the Camino?
I'd have to say the people you meet.
They make it for you.
Yeah, and the kind of you meet, it's not just the people, it's, you probably know because you've probably done more Caminos than I have, but it's just the state that you meet people in. Everyone is so open, so friendly, and it's just life affirming.
Yeah, I've always said all along the way, I think you often encounter people as the best versions of themselves on the Camino. I think that's what long distance walking does to you. And last but not least, from the quickfire section, a guilty pleasure that you may have carried with you.
I think it's got to be my beloved Thermarest travel pillow.
I thought you was going to say that, actually. No one touch my pillow. All right, okay. So, if you wouldn't mind, just describe your daily Camino routine from waking up to going to sleep. How did you manage to get your way through 20, 30, 40 odd kilometres every day? What was your typical day like?
I'd probably say we would get up quite early because I walk in the summer when it gets very hot. So we'd probably be out by 6 a.m. But before that, you'd kind of have a quick wash, get your bag ready, get your feet ready, and then just get your pack on it and start moving. And it actually turns out it's kind of my favorite time to walk the Camino. It's peaceful. I walk via kind of moonlight most of the time. My eyes are gradually rather adjust to the light, and it's such a beautiful quiet time. So I would walk kind of maybe on my own for an hour or two, stop at a cafe, kind of fuel up, and then keep going. Some of my Camino family that I kind of made and met along the way, we text and just kind of work out what town people were pushing on to. So I'd set that as my destination, keep pushing on, maybe have a bit of lunch, but not kind of properly relax until I've finished walking for the day. We'd then get to town, find an albergue. If there was enough, we'd get in a room together. If not, we'd all go into a dorm, wash my clothes, grab a bite to eat. Either if there was some place like a river or a swimming pool, I'd go for a swim. If not, maybe have a chill out in the sunshine, maybe have a nap, and then kind of reconvene later, have dinner, have a few beers. Those Estrella Galicias kind of rear their head again. And then kind of relax and get to bed before kind of lights out at the albergue. Actually, prep the bag before, because that was one of my bugbears where people, they don't prep their bags the night before, and then they got their lights on and they're banging around in the morning. It just slows you down. So I'd prep my bag the night before, and then I'd be ready to roll again.
Sounds exactly like my typical Camino day as well, Dan. Thanks for sharing that. And just some advice on money, really. How did you manage money on the Camino? How much cash did you carry with you? How much cash did you carry with you? And how did you have money on cards? Just so people that have never done it before know what to expect.
Well, I would say some of the small towns you go to, they've not really heard of chip and pin. So you're going to need some cash with you. There are kind of random cash points dotted around, but I went with a 200 or 300 euros maybe in my kind of bum bag, so that would always be kind of hidden on my person. And then I took out a Starling card, which is an internet banking card, which you don't pay kind of fees for taking out money while you're over there, and you're charged the kind of MasterCard exchange rate, which was kind of really handy because my bank cards, they were always charging me. So I'd amass massive amounts of charges, which would always wind me up. So yeah, I travel with a Starling bank card and 300 euros, both of those in my bum bag, kind of away from thieving eyes.
So you would literally just charge that Starling card with money from your bank account as and when you needed it?
Yeah, so it's an app. You just log on to the app and you can just transfer money across. If my £200-300 was running out and if I knew, say, I was going to the Mazitas where there's kind of no cash points for a while, I'd make sure I got some cash out, having topped up my Starling card.
That's a really, really good tip. So look out for those Starling cards, for those no-fee withdrawals. Great stuff, Dan. Thank you very much. Now, just before we finish, Dan, if you wouldn't mind just sharing perhaps an encounter, a story, something that embodies everything that's good about the Camino and at the same time might well encourage somebody that's thinking about walking the Camino to go. Imagine you were yourself and you wasn't too sure about it, even though you felt like it's something you wanted to do. Maybe an experience, an encounter that typifies everything that's good about the Camino and would convince that person that you were before to go.
Well, I think, I do have examples which I will kind of describe to you, but I'd say just on the whole that the people you meet, as we've kind of mentioned earlier, the people you meet, the best of people, they're just so open, so connected. And if you are maybe in a place in your life where you feel that you're lacking that connection, people have moved on, friends have had, have got wives, children, and maybe your social circle has slightly shrunk, to go there and everyone you meet to be so open and friendly, it fills you up, and it kind of makes every day a joy. And we had one day where we kind of walked quite far. We ended up in Torres del Rio, and there is an albergue there which has a very nice kind of little swimming pool. And we got there and everyone was kind of hanging around and having drinks, and there's a rather large kind of tattooed, he looked like a football hooligan. You probably wouldn't mind me saying it. And it turned out, excuse me, his name was Adam, a massive Aston Villa fan, covered in tattoos.
We'll forgive him for that. Sorry.
Well, they're going down this year, so I think he's going to be in a bad way at the end of the season. But he just sat there and he started talking to me. I didn't know him, started chatting, and he asked me about kind of my reasons for doing it and why I was here. And I told him, and I'm very open with this complete stranger. And by the end of it, he kind of had tears in his eyes, and he said, "That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that." And I said, "Well, why are you here, if you don't mind me asking?" And he kind of told me about some kind of relationship issues and how his friends had suggested maybe he needs to try the Camino, and he was just out here and kind of taking it day by day and was just really feeding off the human connection. And I didn't actually properly see him after that day and that kind of frank conversation, but it stayed with me, and it reminded me, one, not to kind of judge people for how they look, and two, not to get any Aston Villa tattoos on me.
Let me switch that back to you now then, Dan. We know how you came to walk the Camino. Would you be comfortable to just explain the reason why you actually wanted to walk it?
I think, I'd say it was part. Well, I had an illness which was undiagnosed for quite some time. They thought it was labyrinthitis, and I was just told to bed rest, and it just wouldn't go away, and it got worse and worse and worse, to the extent where I thought I'd have to leave London and I'd have to go home and kind of live with my parents. And at kind of in my late 30s, it really did not appeal to me, and I was tearing my hair out. And I eventually found a doctor, and he diagnosed me correctly with vestibular migraines. So I was migraining every day, and I didn't realize. So he put me on a special diet, he put me on medication. And when I was starting to come back, it was almost like the Camino is something that means so much to me. If I can do that, if I can do the physical, if I can get myself up O Sobrero, if I can walk there, if I can go over there even to be away from the safety of my room, which was a safe prison in a way for a while. If I can do that, if I can achieve that, I can do anything. So to get out there and to chip away at it, I think it was part of my recovery, really, as I slowly came to terms with my illness and I got a handle on it and I kind of learned what I needed to do. And as it kind of faded and as I've gone back kind of consecutive times, it's almost like I can use the Camino as a barometer for my progression in life. I'm a lot more confident. I'm more at home around other people. And I just feel a lot better in myself. So last year when I walked the whole Camino and I finally got back to Ocebrero, I kind of got to the top and I got quite emotional because that was a point when I first did it, when I was struggling with an illness, and I could just look back and I thought, look how far you've come. Yeah, you've got up this hill and you're knackered and you're sweaty, but look how far you've come in yourself. And I don't know of any other holiday that can do that for you. It's not, you're not going to get that in Magaluf. You're not going to get that on a road trip in America with your mates. It was almost crossing a line in the sand and just being really proud of myself for getting through that, really.
And it sounded like that moment at the top of Ocebrero, it was when you finally maybe officially felt like you'd shed that skin and those pains of the past.
Yeah, and kind of come to terms with it and actually thought, well, anxiety came out of being scared of the world because the world looked quite strange for me. If I was migrating every day and my vision was off and my balance was off, I was scared of human interaction. But to be at Ocebrero and to have achieved that physically, to feel strong, but then looking forward to kind of meeting people that I had known for a couple of weeks who I considered close friends, but also new people, and just kind of being excited for the road ahead, and then being excited that I am excited. So it was a kind of a win-win situation, really.
It was the birth of a new you by the sounds of it.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we had a lovely guest called Dev Cuny, who's a TEDx speaker, and she said something that was very profound for me, and that was very simple, that it's solved by walking. And it's so true. A good walk, and especially a long distance walk like that, can be so transformational. And even thousands of years ago, the father of Western medicine called Hippocrates, and he said walking is life's best medicine. And you are living proof of all of those theories, basically. So I'm really chuffed for you, Dan, that it's done that for you. And you're returning this year to do another one, correct?
Yes, I will be walking the Portuguese Camino from Porto up to Santiago and potentially Murcia if I have time.
So Dan, as a big thank you to you for your time and all the recommendations and your help you've given to me and your fellow pilgrims, I'm going to send you via email a copy of my book that's on Amazon. That's called The Only Way is West.
Thank you very much.
It's Camino de Santiago memoir. It's a bit, shall we say, it's written light-hearted, humorous, and yeah, I'll send you that via email, so keep an eye out for that. And for when you go back to the Camino Portugues in June, I'd just like to say buen camino, fellow peregrino.
Thank you very much.
Wanderer, a life adventurer.